Okay, we are back for another One Fight Night preview. This one is for One Fight Night 22 that goes down on May 3rd from Lumpinee Stadium in Bangkok. It feels like it's been a while since we've had one of these, since the big One Friday Fights Tempo card and then the Fight Night 21 card, which ended up over-delivering. And I think that this one is one of the best Fight Night cards we have had so far this year. Maybe it lacks I think the main event is really good. Maybe it lacks, a main event that would get people more excited, just because people might be a little bit unfamiliar with Natalia Diachkova in case if they haven't been watching the Friday Fight series. But I think that there is really good depth on this card and some significant matchups, right? Matchups that mean something, and that is always what I'm looking for, and that is always what we are going to be talking about on this preview, giving you what you need to know going into this card. So if you haven't been staying up to date, you know what you need to be looking out for. You know what some of these matchups mean. So let's check it out. I will pull up the card quickly here. This is the graphic that we have, and this graphic was released weeks ago, which is fantastic. I love to see that from One Championship. It shows that, there aren't matchups that are being put together short notice and things. Everything looks to be set. We haven't had any fights fall off of this graphic, I don't believe. So it's looking like a good card, and we've had a couple of weeks to get excited about it. And when I was just kind of looking through it then, just to make sure, that I know what I'm going to talk about, I was like, yeah, this card, I'm feeling really good about this one. And yeah, excited to see it go down. Let me pull up the One Championship website so we can have a look at the card over there. I could probably switch around, right? Okay, so yeah, you got a couple of fights here that are kicking off. Again, I want to talk about the ones that have real significance for their divisions, and in my opinion, though I do always enjoy watching Tong Poon, so that'll be fun. This fight in the atomweight MMA division is the one that really is going to pique my interest on the early part of the card. Whilst I am excited to watch all the other ones, I'm sure there'll be good fights. Chihiro Sawada looks like she could be a real player in this atomweight division. She's 2-0 now in One Championship, with wins over, I'm going to butcher this name, so I do apologize, Sanaz Fayazmanish. That was on the One Friday Fights card where she made her debut. And then One Fight Night 20 in March, she got a big win over Jian Rajuan, that really kind of put her on the map in this division. She's going to be taking on Noelle Grandjean, who is coming off of a win over Victoria Souza on that same card. But I would expect Chihiro to get a win here. And I think that, 3 wins in a row in this division is obviously going to put you right near the top, and you could probably be looking at a top contender matchup for her next. Let me just look at the One Championship rankings are not always the best judges of where we are at. In fact, yeah, I'm not sure what the atomweight division is looking like right now, but you've got obviously Stamp defending the title against Denise pretty soon at 1167 next month. Well, next month in terms of the events, and apart from that, there aren't really a ton of contenders that stand out. Looking at the top 5 rankings here, you've got Stamp, and then below her, you've got Hamsio Hee, Denise, Alodia Rassol. I'm going to butcher that name, so I do apologize. Tiffany Teo and Jean Rajuan, who Chihiro has a win over. So I really think that she could push into, that kind of top mix, potentially a matchup with Hamsio Hee. I would like to see that. Otherwise, hard to see, where she'll get another win that will put her in title contention. But you would imagine with 3 wins and picking up another one here could put her right into that mix. So exciting stuff there. In the lightweight kickboxing division, you've got Legatron. Rungwawi is back in action, taking on Bogdan Shumarov. Sounds about right. Yeah, pronunciation, right? It's not always going to be great. I do apologize. Who's coming off of 2 wins as well. So again, this is what I mean about stakes on this card. A guy coming off of 2 wins, taking on Legatron, could be a big win for him, or it could be Legatron getting back in that mix. He did, of course, lose to Dmitry Menshikov, who also features on this card, although he did bounce back in January of that One Fight Night 18 card that kicked off the year. Then in the flyweight MMA division, it is good to have Reese McLaren back in the mix. In my opinion, he's taking on Hu Yong from China, who He's on a bit of a run himself. 3 wins in a row now, 2 of them via finish, 1 split decision. Since that loss to Yuya Wakamatsu. And Reese is coming off of that loss to Kyra Akhmatov. That was at One Fight Night 10 in Denver last year. So it's good to see him back in this mix, because I do think that he is always going to be a player in and around this division. And yeah, I'm excited to see it. And again, stakes, right? It's exciting. You want to talk about stakes? Bantamweight kickboxing matchup here. This is one of my favorite fights on the card. You've got Hiroki Akimoto, the former bantamweight kickboxing world champion. He is back in action, where he's going to be taking on the debuting Wei Ru. Could get that wrong. Apologies if I have. If these things happen when I hear it on commentary, then I might get it better. So stay tuned for that, I guess. He's going to be making his debut. Former K1 world champion. This is Hiroki Akimoto's first fight in over a year, right? Yeah. So his last fight was the split decision loss to Pechtanong, where he lost the title. And then obviously with Pechtanong, with what happened there, he ended up vacating the belt. And so, the belt went on to be won by Jonathan Haggerty last year. But Hiroki Akimoto this whole time has been talking about how he wants that fight with Haggerty. I believe they were offered to do it in January in Japan, I think, but Haggerty couldn't make the turnaround for that after fighting in where did he fight? November, was it the Andrade fight? Yeah, I believe so. So you got to think that a win for Hiroki could get him that next. Obviously, Haggerty is set to defend the bantamweight Muay Thai title against Superlek in Denver, but kickboxing belt is still going to be there. Hiroki, it would make a lot of sense if he does win, but obviously, Waverly could come in and completely derail the hype there. Well, not the hype, but maybe the title shot claim from Akimoto, and what a big statement that would be for a debut. Then moving up, you've got a lightweight MMA contest between Maurice Abavi and Zhang Lipeng. Again, 2 guys that are on, not bad runs. Maurice did have that debut loss to her. I butchered that, didn't I? To Halil Amir, who I think is fantastic. We will talk about him later because he is also on this card. He did get a win over Blake Cooper to rebound. Blake Cooper, of course, going to be Kei Ruotolo's MMA debut opponent at that card at the Impact Arena in June. And then Zhang Lipeng has got he got a bounce back win as well, where he finished Timofey Nasyukin at One Fight Night 15 last year. That was an impressive win indeed. Yeah, interesting to see how that one plays out. I think that lightweight obviously is in a bit of an interesting place because we still don't know when Christian Lee is going to be back, whether he's going to be at lightweight, whether he's going to be at welterweight. He's, of course, the 2-weight world champion. So hard to kind of theorize what's going to be next for either of those guys. But obviously, a big fight between them. And this is where things get really, really serious, in my opinion. The lightweight Muay Thai contest between Sinsu McClinby and Dmitry Menshikov. 2 men who have previously come up short against Regian Ursel. Ursel, though he did lose at One Fight Night 21, that was, of course, the kickboxing title that he lost to Alexis Nicholas. You would imagine that a rematch will be next, but you could potentially see a #1 contender here emerge for the Muay Thai belt. I remember when this card first got announced, this was actually, on the poster. So I wondered whether it was the main event, whether there would be an interim title chucked on it. You never know, but in the end, we got a world title fight at the top. So, no need for an interim belt. Although it will be interesting, if either of these guys win, they're going to probably have to wait for Regian. He's going to have that kickboxing fight with Alexis Nicholas in the rematch, potential for a trilogy there. So at the same time, both these guys have lost Regian in the past, so maybe you're not in a rush to see it. Although I think that if Menshikov beats Sinsumat here, he of course lost to Regian on his debut in the first round. There was a bad night for him, but he's rebounded with 2 really, really good wins, 2 first-round finishes over Legatron and Mushin Shafi, who I thought looked quite impressive up to that point. And Sinsumat, of course, has also beaten Mushin Shafi in his last fight. But of course, he did have those back-to-back fights with Regian. The first one was a bit closer, and then the second one, Regian was able to get the finish. So I'm excited for this one. Very, very excited to see how Menshikov does, because I thought he's looked really, really good. But of course, you would imagine that, Sinsumat is kind of the, how do I put it? I don't want to make it seem like him and Regian are in like cahoots, but he's kind of like the mob boss that you fight before the final boss in Regian, if that makes sense. Because I think that he is probably the second best guy in the division, but I think Dimitri's looked fantastic. So interesting to see how he does against a guy like Sinsumet because, yeah, like I said, 3 wins in a row. You've got the narrative of that he had a really bad night against Regan and he's proved himself to be a lot better than that performance. So I think that would be an interesting one that we can see down the line. And finally, we have the top 2 fights on the card. These top 3 fights are all fantastic, I think. Featherweight MMA contest between Akbar Abdullayev and Halil Amir. I'm super interested in this one. Maybe even more so than the main event. Akbar Abdullayev, 2 wins in a row, 2 finishes in the first round, both of them under a minute. He's looked fantastic, and obviously he's gonna was going to be set for a big fight next, and I didn't expect it to be this fight, but I'm quite interested that it is. Halil Amir is a guy that I thought would be next for Christian Lee when he returned. He's got 3 wins in a row in one championship. Those are over Timofey Nasyukin, Maurice Abavi, and Ahmed Mushtaba. And this, of course, the interesting thing here, as you can see highlighted there, is this is at featherweight. Halil Amir was racking up wins at lightweight. I imagine he wants to stay busy. He doesn't know what's going to happen with Christian Lee. And so I believe as well, he said that featherweight is actually a better fit for him, which is crazy because I never thought of him as a small lightweight by any means. So interested to see how Halil Amir looks at featherweight because I genuinely thought he was not just a really good lightweight contender, but a bit of a threat actually to Christian Lee. So interesting to see how he looks at featherweight. Again, in terms of stakes for this one, you would imagine that Gary Tonon will be next to challenge Tang Kai. What a fight that will be, by the way, for that featherweight belt. But you would imagine, I think, that the winner of that fight could potentially face either of these two guys, especially if they get an impressive win. I mean, we haven't even seen, we've seen about a minute and a half of Akbar Abdullayev in total. Whilst we've seen a lot more of Halil Amir, I've been very impressed by him. So whilst he might not have the same insane finishing record of Akbar Abdullayev, I would probably pick Halil Amir, maybe because I have just seen more of him. But who knows how he's going to do at featherweight because I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure. But I'm very interested to see it nonetheless. And finally, in the main event, the strawweight Muay Thai World Championship on the line. The champion Smilla Sundell returns to face nearly butchered that, Natalia Diachkova from Russia. She, of course, has built a very impressive winning streak on the Friday Fight Series. 4 wins in a row. Only one of them has gone to a decision. All 3 of her other wins have come by first round knockout. Experienced competitor. So by no means is this kind of champion versus whilst Diachkova is the new blood in the division because she earned her 1 championship contract in her last fight. Very experienced, and of course Smilla is still, despite the fact that I feel like I've watched her compete for years, which I mean I guess we have at this point. She's still only 19. She is still only getting better. That last win over Alicia Helen Rodriguez, where she TKO'd her in the 3rd round at One Fight Night 14 in September. Whilst the matchup, it was a difficult one because Alicia was obviously going up in weight at quite short notice, and Smilla is so rangy for that weight class, and she does not take her foot off the gas for an instant. I thought maybe Alicia is so good in the clinch and things like that, maybe she could turn it into that, but so is Smilla. This is the problem, right? You think, okay, tall, rangy champion, maybe doesn't have as much experience. Maybe somebody like Diachkova, who has been through some wars and has an aggressive style, can meet her head on and bring the fight to her. But we see this time and time again that Smilla, whilst, in interviews and stuff like that, by the way, I should shout out the interview that my good friend, Mr. Tim Wheaton, did with Smilla over on Calf Kick Sports. Go and check that out. The interview they did ahead of this fight, because I thought it was a fantastic look, and you got a lot of personality from Smilla in that one. While she might seem like, she's a competitor compared to a fighter, you see it, when she steps in the ring, she goes after people. And if people want to go after her, it suits her well because it'll only make her push harder. So I think Smilla will get the win here. I expect it to be really good, though, because both of them are super aggressive. interesting to see how Diachkova deals with the range of Smilla and the pace, the insane pace that she brings. So I think this is going to be a really, really good main event. Like I said, I think this whole card is fantastic. I'll pull up the One Championship graphic again so you can get a whole look at the card once again before we get out of here for today. Um, just a really, really good card. Like I said, like tons of stakes, tons of matchups with people coming up against other people that it just makes sense. I think the one matchmaking for this event has been fantastic. So well done to everyone involved. And yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. I think the main event's going to be fantastic. Super interested in the co-main event and the Muay Thai contest between Tintimut and Dmitry Menshikov. And in terms of other ones to highlight, maybe keep an eye on Chihiro Sawada. She could be a player in this division. Rungarawi versus Shimurov should be fantastic. And of course, Hiroki Akimoto back in action. I'm super excited to watch him do his thing once again. Thank you for checking out this preview. As always, make sure you drop this video a like. Let me know in the comments below which fight you're most looking forward to. Give me your predictions for this card. Drop a subscribe because we will keep it coming with the One Championship content. As always, I will see you all very soon. Enjoy the fights.